At the very end of the East vs. West pay-per-view, Levan was being interviewed by Neil Pickup, and at some point throughout this process, Levan issued a challenge to Devon Larratt. Levan said that he would like to rematch Devon in a couple years when Devon is 50 years old. Now, immediately following this, Devon declined this offer. I think at the moment it's clear that Devon knows what he felt, and what he felt is way out of reach, and he is not in any way ready for a rematch. However, as a lot of people have been pointing out, that isn't necessarily all there is to it. Because if you guys did not remember, this exact same thing happened the last time. The last time Devon faced Levan, Levan obviously crushed him, but then right at the end of the match, Levan did offer Devon a rematch. And of course, Devon declined. He said there's no way he's going to pull him, and I think maybe his exact words were, "I will never pull him again." Yet here we are, immediately following a Devon and Levan rematch, even though Devon said it was never going to happen. So, is Devon going to rematch Levan again in a couple years? If we're solely going to look at what happened in the past and use that as a pattern to predict what will happen in the future, at first it would look like Devon is probably going to rematch Levan at some points. However, there is one major difference between the first match and the second match that I do think would play into Devon's decision, and that is that in the first match, Devon did receive an injury. And I do think that this is probably pretty important. The difference is, in the first match, Devon thought probably Levan was out of reach, but technically he wasn't totally sure since he did get injured. The only thing he really had to base anything off of was that round one go, and he almost got some kind of stop in that round, so I think that Devon was holding out a little bit of hope for a rematch. However, this time around, Devon did not receive an injury, and he still got crushed pretty badly. So I don't think that Devon can hold out hope in the same way that he did the first time around. That being said, Devon was the very first person to ever take hand control off of Levan in his professional career, as far as I'm aware of. So potentially he could hold out hope in that regard. But overall, I think what's going to happen is Devon is going to gauge all of this based off of his performance in the future. And what I mean is this: I think that Devon will start off by attacking those weight class pullers and trying to dominate multiple weight classes at once. And if he succeeds there, I think at some point it's inevitable that he will kind of get kicked out of those weight categories, because it's going to become boring if he's just destroying everyone. Then he will go back up into the super heavyweight classes. And if at this point somehow Devon is still the number 2 guy in the world, if he's still destroying everyone except for Levan, I think potentially a Devon versus Levan rematch is inevitable. However, let's say that Devon does get kicked back up into that super heavyweight category and he begins to make his climb the same way he did the first time, but this time when he runs into Hermes Gasparini, for example, he gets crushed. I don't think that he's going to make another attempt at Levan. I think that the only reason he would make another attempt at Levan is if it is clear that Devon is the number 2 guy and he's the only contender to challenge Levan. If there is anyone at all that is in between Devon and Levan, I think that Devon is going to allow that guy to have a crack at Levan, and he's not going to mess with pulling him again. But let me know what you guys think about this whole thing. Do you think that Devon is going to end up pulling Levan again and it's pretty much inevitable, even though Devon said he won't? Or do you think that Devon is for real this time and he's going to be banished to those lighter weight classes for the foreseeable future?